Welcome everyone. The topic for the day is building creative capability in self, others, and the wider organization. So it is all about creativity capabilities that we will be talking in this particular presentation. Stumbling with confidence. Now, believe me or not, first to understand creativity, let us understand what hinders your creativity in the first place, and that is which I say is all about stumbling with confidence, assessing creative practices. Now, this is what we will talk about it. Creativity surrounds us on all sides, from composers to chemists, from cartoonists to choreographers. But creativity is a puzzle and a paradox, some say even is a mystery. Now, this is as per Boden in 1991. Again, I repeat, creativity surrounds every one of us, be it me who is giving a presentation, be it you who's understanding this presentation, watching this presentation, and I'm sure in the walks of your life that you are pursuing, you are creative, and that is the reason you people are successful. And believe me, when I say you are successful, you are definitely successful from a certain percentage of the population who is not making enough as you people are. So be it from composers to chemists, and this is the different profession that we're talking about, from cartoonists to choreographers. Everyone is a creative person, and so are you. Creativity will talk about certain background, some assumptions, some histories, some definitions, some models that comes around it. This we will be talking around it as in the course of the presentation. Creativity, what do you think? Is it a word, is it a phrase, or is it anything else? Please remember, is creativity all about a verse? Yes, for a copyright person it is words, it's a phrase. For a copyright person it might be an image, the photographers, the way you document a situation, it might be. But so is creativity, a lot of things that comes around here. So how do we go across it? First and foremost thing, there are so many things that comes around it. Listen to all the senses, the working and things like that that comes around every now and then. So we will talk about it time and again. We will say doing something in the original outside the conventional pathway, unique provisions for you to go around it, might be the creativity that we talk around it, making things happen, planning, dreaming, organizing, the wow factor, putting something new. You can, these are the responses that I have got from my participants of the sessions on creativity, and I've jotted it down. Let us talk about creative accounting. Don't laugh, think and run. What do they about fun? Grappling with tiny moments, wishing I had done it or thought about it. It's the way you go around it. This is all been creatively pursued altogether. So this is what we are looking into it. Imagination, first and foremost thing. If I conclude these things in a graph, this is how can I go around it. It's all been about imagination that comes around. We talk about it, imaginations and imaginative being the highest one, but so a new something which is novel idea that comes around it. Innovations and innovativeness comes show third approximately. Being different is all the way you go around it. Being original, being fun, being intuitive, inventive, lateral thinking, thinking outside the box, inspirational, inspiring, novelty, novel, playful, and so on and so forth. So basically, if we can again sum it up, so what are we doing it to do in the verb form of it? It is all about your thought process, thinking. It is all about an execution, making, or doing. Making is producing. Doing is another form of execution where you're enacting or executing the things, solving, dreaming, and so on and so forth. So in others, these are things that comes around it. It can be excitement, it can be divergence, it can be freedom, it can be engagement, it can be visionary, it can be fantasy, it can be transformationals, and so on and so forth that comes around it. This is all about being creativity. Remember, the creativity is a culturally situated phenomena. This is something which are the myths that comes around it. Discourse, practices underpinning, conceptual framework related to creativity, not culturally neutral. This is again what we need to go around it. Research and literature on creativity is dominated by Western models and conceptualization. These are again wrong altogether. These are the myths that you need to go across it. Remember, this is what challenges you altogether. Everyone is creative person. Did I say you are a creative when you are watching this particular videos, picking it out, sparingly utilizing your time for the benefit of yours in your professional life? Probably yes. So is everyone is a creative person. Remember, creative, some binary opposition that comes around it. Elite individual genius versus democratic sociable collaborative person. Original from nothing or generic transformative. Remember, this what I'm trying to bring is juxtapositioning the opposite paradigm altogether. Being art specific or residing in all human individuals, being spontaneously or can be taught or can be learned, being ubiquitous or being special, being universal or being seen culturally specific. You remember anything and everything. They are creative altogether, being imaginative or intuitive as the case might be, being a knowledge or a skill based thing, process based or a product led, ineffable, instinctive, quantifiable and testable. That is what we go around it, or being emotional and rational. This is the binary opposition that comes around it, and to the certain fact of it, be it are you being on the elite side or on a democratic side, being the unique person, um, or a special person, being universal, all being very local or cultural specific, everything is unique or creative in them altogether. So let us understand some history, the some thinkers, some examples, the way you want to understand the way I've been presenting it out to you. The tradition of all dead generation waits like a nightmare on the brain of a living. Definitely, yes, because it is these great people, it is our previous generation who has handed over the knowledge, the skills, and is enabling us to live a life that we are leading as of now. Remember, our forefathers used to actually live in a trees or probably in a caves or probably under the sun, be it summer season, winter season, or the rainy season, the way you want to put it through. But look how we are living or existing right now. So there is an element of improvement in our lifestyle. Definitely, yes. Plato says creativity is mysterious, is inspirational, is a gift of God, Eureka and elite. This is what Plato says around it. It's a mysterious, inspirational gift of God, Eureka moments, or the elite things that comes around it. On the other hand, our great Aristotle says creativity is everyday act of bringing something into being, or every man that comes around it. This is what we are looking into it. Let us understand what Frankenstein stated in the 19th century. It is all about romanticism, the genius, the mad, the bad, the dangers that comes around it. It is again creativity where when Frankenstein actually tried to do something radically which may turn out or may not turn out in in a positive way altogether. 19th centuries is all about the scientific inquiry, the Galton exploration of genius. This 19th century is where we have developed the modern way of transporting ourselves, the industrial revolution that comes around it, the way people are wearing clothes, if you look into it, it is all in the 19th century, being the scientific inquiry that comes around it. We have Sigmund Freud, we have Poincaré, we have Wallace in 1926, and Guilford in 1950, the great creative geniuses, the scientists that have contributed by leaps and bounds to the existing standard of living that we are living as of now. So this is all about creativity. We have spoken about Frankenstein is the idea of the individual creative genius that still actually resonates. For example, the baggage about creativity being God-given talent, which either you have or you have not. The myth of the maverick or unpredictable or dangerous creative person, people might actually look into it. Yes, creativity is dangerous. Probably you can cite an example. If Frankenstein, probably people might not have heard, or if even if they have heard and if they have not understood. Another glorifying example of creativity which is of dangerous nature is the advent of the nuclear bomb, which can destroy the humanity humanity as a race in a completely disseminate us all together. That's also a negative dangerous creativity that we talks around it. We have tobacco that comes around as a maverick, unpredictable, dangerous creativity person. Things comes around it. So we'll talk about those things: psychology, the focus of individual disposition, testing, the psychometric test, divergent, convergent thinking, etc. comes around it. Be it from 1950s to 1980s to 2022s, that comes around it. We are talking about business management, we are talking about the studies, the sociologies, the education, and so on and so forth. So what do we go around it? We are just doing nothing but widening our methodological horizon from a historiometric approach to a case study approach to a system model to a neuroscience model to a computer and artificial intelligence model. So look at it how we have moved around it. Approximately we cited example in historiometric models. Then we cited example on real life says in historiometric models we cited examples which had happened in the history. Then we had case studies which are happening or probably a pseudo case study that might happen altogether. Then came around the system models. Then probably we spoke around the individual metrics altogether as far as neuroscience are concerned, the cognitive and the computer modeling which is coming out with artificial intelligence. If not artificial intelligence, then neuro linguistic programming or NLP that comes around it, which is being the next order of the day, the definition. Let us understand the definition. Again, the myths before I come across. All the research in creativity starts from either ambiguous definition. This is what we are saying about it. Ambiguous means distorted, means convoluted, means confusion, or in some cases, no definition at all. The assumption being, I guess, that everyone knows what creativity means, what the definition will do exactly. This is what we are looking into it. How do we go around it? So let us understand the definition. Now, creative idea is the one that is both original and appropriate for a situation for which it occurs. One of the best definition that I go around it, and that's the reason I put it at the very topmost thing. Definitely, all these definitions are very valid, but still, creativity is the generations of ideas that are both novel and valuable. Again, creativity from Western perspective can be defined as an ability to produce a work that is novel and appropriate. Creativity is imaginative activity fashioned so as to produce outcomes that is both original and of value. According to Knight, it says creative construct new tools and new outcomes, new embodiments of knowledge. It construct new relationship rules, communities to practice, and new connection, new social practices. What do we mean by creative work? Like most definition, creativity our involves novelties and in values. The product must be new, must give some sort of new additional values according to the external criteria. Did you notice that I have done marked everything in red, which I think is very important? And the most common word would be novel, valuable, novel, appropriate, valuable, original, new. Absolutely, novelty, value. This is the summations of the definition, something which is new, something which is novel, something which is original, something which creates value altogether. So let us understand creativity, how to building the creative capabilities. First and foremost thing, as per the Wallace 1926 four-stage model, this is where we goes around in the step one is from the bottom side, not from the top side. Is the preparation as to have an idea around it. Then the incubation, have a prototype working around it. Illumination, where you go actually execute the prototype in your standard conditions, and verification when you have to ensure that prototype or launch that prototype in the real condition that goes around it. This is a Wallace 1926 four-stage model that comes across it, which we need to understand. So what do we go around it? This 1988 system model of creativity, what does it tells you? It tells you about the individual who is within the domain and works with the field. The field is the society. Remember, domain is the culture, the individual has a personal background or the qualification or the bent of mind that the person possesses. Remember, this is from the society. He or she actually identifies a need or a gap. From the domain, it is the information that he or she solicited so that this particular gap or the demand needs up to be fulfilled. And this is where you select the novelty. That's the system model of creativity that comes around it in 1998 that was set around it. So skills in creative thinking, skills in task domain, and intrinsic motivation is what helps you in building creative capability in yourself, in others, and in the organization. Again, I repeat, the skill in the task domain, the skill in the creative thinking, and the intrinsic motivation actually helps you to understand what is required. These are the three things that comes in your mind every now and then. So operating on the edge of the chaos is how do we go across it? This is what is chaos. The status is close to certainty is what we are actually living it out. On an x-axis is your certainty and uncertainty, wherein on a y-axis is your agreement where everybody is with you and nobody is with you. So everybody is working around it. So there is this chaos, the zone of optimal operation, what I call is a zoo, from status to chaos. And believe me, if we do not move their journey, we do not improvise as a race, as a species altogether, it is the edges of chaos. The more the agreement comes around it, it becomes more stable and things like that. So this is again based from Stacy's, which is way back in 2000 that comes around it. So you need to tell me about your assessment theories. The creative continuum is all about being the origination, the innovation, the formulation, and the replication. Believe me or not, once you have the idea of origination, being with an innovations which is innovative, let's say a mobile phone or of genuine land phone, from there to mobile phone, from mobile phone now we have the smartphones, and then you have the replication. Now you have tens and thousands of companies coming up with their smartphones. They are basically mimicking the successor or the innovators in the first place. And that is what the creative continuum is all about. It is all about your assessment where you want to fill it out, how well and across that you go across it. So remember the four steps altogether: origination, innovation, formulations, and replication. So we'll talk about the concepts of knowledge. How does it goes around it? Where does the knowledge comes around it? What are the dualism? What are the relativism? Remember, first and foremost thing, knowledge which has been given to us from the generations, past generations, or from the teachers, if you want to go around it, if you don't understand the past generation things, then what do we apply our own common sense, our known, our own attributes to those knowledges? So knowledge becomes provisionals out here. This is where you want to go from dualism to relativism, when you start applying it to an alternative usage or knowledges which brings up team success to you in your daily life altogether. And you will see there are many glorifying examples in the walks of your life, and these examples need not be a very well-renowned example. Of course, there are well-renowned known example. What I mean to say, these are examples who are there within your vicinity, people who have actually applied their behavioral skills as far as the knowledge is concerned, the psychological skills as far as the knowledge is concerned, and been successful, or the technical skills as far as the knowledge is concerned. I've been successful, relatively quite successful, and leading a very uh, decent way of life. And that is what I see. Self-actualization is all about it. So it's a concept of learning which comes around here. We will talk about it. How do we go across this concept of learning? It is all about reproductions, wherein we acquire information again from our seniors, our teachers, our faculties, our previous generation, memorizing them, applying them. This is the stage where we comes around it. When we start applying them, this is when we start seeking meaning for understanding and reflecting as to what is going to happen in the society. seeing it in a different fashion altogether. Then comes the concepts of teaching, wherein we are basically in the relativism on the seeking meaning. If we can do it in the next generation, the teacher centric or the content oriented is imparting information, transmitting the structuring knowledge, directing active learning. This is what we are looking into it. Remember, as a teacher, this is what we can do around it, but what happens to the student, this is way understanding of facilitating their understanding of what I would believe personally to broadening the horizon, encouraging conceptual changes thereby. This is what student learning centric is all about it. And we are talking nothing but transformation. This is what we are interested in, the transformation. This is what we are looking at it after, at the end of the day, is transformations altogether. So please understand time and again, so from status to chaos, how do we go across it? The originations, the innovations, the formulation, the replication. It is the transformation that comes around it. We are amalgamating those previous three slides into one slide altogether. This is the thing that comes around it. So what are we looking at it? We are talking about processes, we are talking about products, we are talking about making new connections, we're talking about freedom and fulfillment. This is what we need to understand, be it the constraint, the resistance, the process, the product. So we have, what do we have? We have these four quadrants that comes around it all together, and we need to balance it out. This is what we need to balance out every now and then, so as to make a valid connection. This is what we are looking at it, into it. If we can manage this process, the product, the full freedom and the fulfillment and the constraint, what are we looking into it? We are looking at transformation. This is what we should aspire for. Remember, creativity conceived as a product focused experiences, a transformation focused experiences, a process focused experiences, a constraint focused experiences. These are all creativity. These are all and everything of which it means the transformations focused experiences might be the most applicable one. But believe me or not, the constraint focus experiences. Let us understand what is the constraint focus experience with an example. Let us say we want to colonize as a human species, we want to colonize Mars, but believe me or not, the transporting all the individuals from our planet to Mars is very expensive, right? So how can we, as a constraint focused thing, how can we reduce the expensive natures? How can we make it very economical journey? So that is what the constraint focused experience is all about it. Remember, stasis, process and transformation, this is all we are looking into it. As far as creativity is concerned, this is what we are indulging in. Remember, focus of interpersonal research is all about constraint, isolation, and frustration. About interpersonal is all about your shared experiences, product testing, and outcomes. It might be new, it might be explorative, it might be motivating. Remember, when an experience of achieving things is all about transformation, be it in terms of satisfaction, pride, pleasures, recognition, affirmation and verification. This is what we are looking into it. So first and foremost thing, we are talking about confidence and we are talking about the changing nature that comes around it, whether it's a no change or low or high change, absolutely in focus altogether. So if we understand this, nothing like it. This is what we are looking at, the transformation, the chaos nature, the process nature, and we are amalgamating everything to one particular slide for your understanding as to how we can build creative capabilities in self, in others, and in the organization. So I am trying to build everything slowly and steadily into one particular process, onto one particular chart as to what I want to go around it. So assessing creative practices, how do we go around it? It is the assessment not fit for the purposes. Assessment of landscape has not been changed or it's been changing constantly. Student as an agent, not object of assessment. Some concerns, some challenges, assessment of learning, assessment of teaching, and so on and so forth that comes around it. Again, the myths that comes around it, the complex multidimensional nature of creativity cannot be captured effectively. Again, I say wrong. It can be done. Did I tell you how about creativity in the small, shortest of all the videos that you might have seen across in be it in any of the websites that comes around it, to understand how proactively we can encourage creativity and what are the impediments to creativity and incentive towards it. So, however, the use of multiple methods and reflecting an attempt to secure an in-depth understanding of a phenomena is the question that comes around it. This is what we look around. So why assess creativity? Something which we need to go across is why assess creativity is helping to remove creativity from the realm of mystery and superstition. This is what we have been doing it. Earlier times, people have been actually been vindicated, being it calling creativity as they were challenging the superstitions and mysteries altogether, the laws of nature, helping to recognize their own strength and talents, enabling people to know and understand themselves much better, expanding risk-taking parameters, helping to discover unrecognized or untapped potential talent that comes across it. This is what we are looking at all, assessing creative practices from triangulations to crystallization, from conceptions to actual reality. This is what we are looking at. This is the triangulations to crystallization comes around it. It is all about qualitative inquiry that comes around here. This is what creative practice is all about it. What is the paradigm? Right from that, what is the positivism is the explanation, the control, the interpretation would be aims to understand from triangulations to crystallization. So explaining to understanding, from knowledge being objective, measurable, value-free, universal, generalistic, we go to subjective, contextualizing it, value depending. So from researchers is an expert or an independent thing, from independent and researchers to an independent participant, so that everybody understand it. The criteria for in triangulation is rigor via holy trinity of validity, reliability, and generalizability. Whereas the criteria for rigor is via credibility, transferability, dependability, and confirmability, is that we are looking into it. There is a relative out there that can be studied, that can be captured, that can be understood. Truth is a matter of consensus among performed sophisticated constructivism, not of correspondence with an objective reality that comes into it. So, what is the assessment? We talk about it can be anything. In the assessment of creativity can be your case study report, a dissertation, essay, examination, seen, unseen, open book, group of project assignments. Now, these are things that can help in building creativities in self, in others, in an organization, be it your performance of an individual, groups, portfolio, presentation, reflective, and so on and so forth. So negotiation is what we are looking into it. The negotiation assessment is presenting the production, that is the finished product, the audience, the process, the journey, the ideas, the technicalities, the documentation, and the interviews. This is what is very important. So this is what we talk about the negotiation assessment, where we are presenting our views all together. We are debating upon the topic. We are talking about triangulations to crystallizations of the ideas altogether, the technical specification, the documentation, and so on and so forth. We come to the fag end of the presentation. We need to understand that negotiation assessment is learning the contract, regular meetings, tutorials, work through the criteria, moving upwards, reach a point of maximum information, optimal achievement, agree to a great band. Probably that is what we go around it to understand. Not everybody would be agreeable. There would be people who would be still be apprehensive, confused, or not understanding, or even not trying to understand. So we need to understand to agree to a gray band. A learning experiences. Remember, it's a learning experiences of building creative capabilities that comes into play. With this, I come to an end of this presentation. Thank you for watching this video. Hope I've been able to make you understand, clarify what is creative capability and how do we go about building it out. What are the processes involved in it? Thank you very much.